Hi everybody, my name's Robin and I'm from the vibrantexperience.com, where we're all about living that fully alive, vibrant experience of life. And today I've got with me Jo, and she's going to share a little bit about her journey through life, and I think it will really encourage you to grab hold and want to move things forward in your own life. And so I want to welcome Jo. Thank you for joining me today. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Robin. I'm thrilled to be here.
Thanks, Jo. So Jo, tell us a little bit about who's Jo? For people who don't know who you are, if you could introduce yourself.
So my name is Jo. I'm a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a gin lover, champagne sipper, and an avid tea drinker. That's kind of me in a nutshell. I am now living in Melbourne, having lived in the UK up till about 5 years ago, where myself, my husband, my 3 boys moved to Melbourne. It was just when they say that a door opened for us, and we found ourselves on an aeroplane to Melbourne at like a spin of a dime, I guess, because it was really quick how we happened to move here, but it is all worked out now. So having moved to Melbourne, I discovered, I guess, through my own personal journey, which I'm sure we'll get into later, the art, I'm going to say, of life coaching, because I stumbled across it because of my own personal journey. And then I realized that it could actually be a job. I'm going to call it a job. Then I called it a job. So I am now a transformational coach, helping individuals who are stuck, maybe struggling with different areas of their life, and really want to move through to really find that true zest for life and really feel within themselves a deeper sense of inner peace, to feel a grounded sense of calmness and a real true sense of fulfillment.
I love that. I love that that's your job.
I know. It was a job then.
Yeah. I think so many people who are in places where they feel stuck, there's that feeling of you really want to move out of that place. I know for me, it hit a point where I couldn't keep things staying the same anymore, and I wanted to move forward with my life and get out of that feeling of being stuck. So could you share a little bit about your journey, because you've gone through quite the journey over the last few years, of a little bit of where your life used to be, what was how did it feel like, or what was your life like before, and then what brought you to that point that you felt like it was time to change, and to sort of take us through a little bit of that journey.
Sure. So I need to take you back to the UK, because in the UK, I would say that my life looked from the outside picture perfect. I lived in a beautiful home. We drove fancy cars. We kind of had all the things, our 3 healthy boys. Everything looked so perfect from the outside. And really, as much as I knew sort of underneath that there was something wrong. Not wrong. I knew underneath there was something, but I just couldn't put words to it. And I think it was this drive for finding inner peace within, because I had taken myself on a personal journey of personal growth for over 10 years. Wow. And I'd done all the things. I followed Oprah religiously, listened to all the gurus. I watched the TED Talks. I read all the books. I did all the things. But yet there was this just unsettling, I think that I could call it, just this unknowing inside of me. And then I think when my husband had the opportunity to actually work in Australia for me, it was kind of like, oh, he was all out for this, amazing job, and had all the things attached to it. Like, oh, that would be great because that would solve like his problem, and then everything will be like, back to sunshine and roses. Not that at the point there was nothing wrong with our relationship. In fact, I prided myself on how solid a relationship we had. But clearly, from where we were to where we've gone to now is like a different kettle of fish. Wow. So it was when we actually moved to Melbourne, where I guess everything was taken away from me, where I'd been self-employed in the remedial massage industry for over 20 years. I closed my business down. That was taken away from me. I moved away from, like, my dad was left in Wales, all my friends were in Wales, everything was stripped away from me. So it almost like turned up the volume on really what was happening in Joe's life, because that's, I think, where the story, I don't know what the story would have been as I stayed in Wales, but certainly dropping me into Melbourne really ramped up what was going on in my life and the huge gap that I was experiencing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how different circumstances in our life can really magnify those things. And I think sometimes it can really help prompt us to really do something about it as well. So for you, for moving through that, like, what sort of things did you start to put in place to help you overcome or to grow and move forward from that space?
So for me, I think it was one day I found myself in the corner of my wardrobe in a slump on the floor, just sobbing my heart out, thinking that I didn't want to go on anymore. And that was where I can always remember, I don't know where I got this, it's a quote from somebody, it's not my thing, but there is always light after the darkness. You will always see, there is always light. And I just kept telling myself, I know you feel so dark, I know, but there is light, just keep going, you've done the right thing. Because there was all this mum guilt with like moving 3 boys who were 12, 15 and 17, moving those to a different country. All the guilt factor and all the shame that I felt just turned up to an amount that was just too painful that I just broke. So at that point, I just thought, right, I've got to do something. I didn't know what I've got to do something look like, but I just opened myself up to a world of possibilities. And that's when things started to change, because only a few weeks later, I would say, it wasn't days, a few weeks later, I saw an advert on Facebook for a coaching school in the city. And I thought, I wanted to like fix, because I thought I was the wrong problem. I was the issue. And I realized, having gone to this event, that one, there wasn't actually any fixing to be done. I was already like fixed, but I had a lot of work to do. And secondly, then, that this coaching thing could become something more. But I initially went because I felt the call for myself. I just knew that I had to do something. And then I guess through that, I got some tools, but even then it was still a struggle to kind of go through my problems, because ultimately you can read a million books, you can listen, you can read all the quotes that you want, you can go through every strategy, but if we don't embody that in our daily life and really focus on how we can heal ourselves, and it's not just our mental self, there's our physical body as well, then you're never going to heal. There is a journey to be had through healing. I got to say, it is a beautiful journey to be had, even though sometimes you think, oh my gosh, but there's definitely a journey to be had through the healing process.
Yeah. I think like the sort of having the courage to go on the healing journey, I should say, like, it takes a lot of courage, I think, to go on the healing journey, because it's very vulnerable, isn't it? Going through that journey of wanting to heal yourself and healing what you've walked through. So you've come to a place now where you're actually doing transformational coaching. So how did you come across that one specifically? Because you mentioned that you did coaching that helped a little bit, but that you still had more to do. So how did you come to do transformational coaching? What even is that, and how's that? Have you used that in your life?
So transformation coaching, huge topic. I'm going to buttle it down to, it's really transforming the person who you are being. And it's not about, really changing your life so your life looks completely different and you actually, look like somebody else has taken over.
Yeah.
Not like that at all. But it just really, I guess, turns up the dial on things that were, I guess, lacking in my life. So I'll use me as an example.
Sure.
In that I think, and I get this when I talk to many, many women, prospects and just friends in general, we all want to seek that inner peace. We all want to feel this calm. We are so surrounded by anxiety, overwhelm, and, there's all this chaos and time and, we haven't got this. We're all in this busyness that ate me away. It ate me away emotionally, but it ate me away physically. So transformation coaching, as I see it, is there are two prongs to this. Mm-hmm. There is the mental and the brain work that goes on with the neurology, but then combined with that is the actual physical aspect, which I use through my coaching, is making sure that the nervous system, through using techniques through the vagus nerve, is in a state of rest and digest instead of being in our fight and flight mode, which, until you start to come out of that, we don't actually realize that we're in fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
It becomes part of us. It becomes our new normal. And it is so not normal. We are not supposed to be in fight or flight mode all the time. We're supposed to be in rest and digest. And then, when the saber-toothed tiger walks past us, because this is inherited from us, then we are to flick into our fight or flight mode.
Yes. So true. So what are some things that, like, some tips that you use, or techniques that you use, or some tips that you can give the viewers of what's something that they can do to help bring themselves out of that constant flight or fight mode? Like, I'm guessing it's a bit of a process, but what are some small things that they could put into place just straight away?
It is completely. It is a process. One easy tip is to breathe, because all of us tend to breathe here. Up here, we shallow breathe. We sit like this and we breathe around our cars. So just open up your chest and just, look, you can do as many breaths as you like. There are so many different techniques out there. So just wherever you are in your life, whatever stage of fitness you are in, just go with whatever feels good to you. Now, that may be for some 2 breaths in, 2 breaths out. If you're, an athlete, then you can go deeper and longer. However, it just depends on the person, but just breathing in. If you can hold it, that's great, but let it out. But really bring in that breath so it's a circular movement in and then out, because that will help click in or switch on the vagus nerve. That is just a very basic method.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that one. That's such a great one. Using those breathing techniques, it's something that I use myself. For me, I use a technique where you kind of breathe in for 4 seconds and make sure I get like a full breath of air and stick my stomach out all the way. No one's watching, so it doesn't matter. And I'll hold my breath for a few seconds, and then I'll breathe it out. But I always try and breathe out a bit longer, like 5 or 6 seconds. So it's a little bit longer than my breath that came in. And it just slows me right down. Like, it just helps to calm me in that moment. I'll do like maybe 3 or 4 of those breaths, sort of one after each other before I move on to my next thing. And I just found that, I find it really helpful.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And there are so many techniques, there's like box breathing where you just describe what you did, and so many others, but you've just got to start off where you are at, and it doesn't matter. You can start anywhere completely just by using the method that I gave.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jo. So now that you've sort of gone on this journey of healing and, I guess like molding your life into being something that you're passionate about and that you really enjoy living. So what's that like now? Trying to think of the way to ask the question, but now that you've gone through that journey and you've been vulnerable and you've done that hard work, has it been worth it?
Completely worth it. Yeah, completely worth it. So before, if I just give a sort of flip back to how life was before, when we first arrived in Melbourne, and it wasn't just because we'd arrived in Melbourne, as I said, it just the volume of the stress and the anxiety that I was feeling just turned right up. So with 3 boys who really didn't want to go to school here, they didn't want to be here. With that experience, sort of the school run was a nightmare. Then it was like, life just was, it was just a struggle, a real struggle. And I think that's when I ended up as like in the corner of the wardrobe. And then what happened was I found coaching. I also got a coach of my own.
Right.
And then that was when it really started to change, was when I made that decision that I actually needed help, because the strategies that I was learning, they weren't enough. You can read anything you want, but to embody that and to have that transformation yourself, it really needs, you don't need to do it alone. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
You don't need to do it alone. We think, whether there's shame, we don't want to ask for help. There's shame around that, we're not capable of doing this ourselves. Well, we're not supposed to be. Why? When you do it with a coach, it is so much more fun. So it's like it's not hard, and then it doesn't become hard. You're not finding the struggle. You've got somebody there to champion you, and it just makes the process just so much easier. So like my coach, a godsend.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I also have a life coach, and it's absolutely changed my life. So like same as you, like I had that desire that I wanted my life to change. I want it to be this fully vibrant, alive life. I want to have healing and all of that. And read the books, had all these great slogans and quotes, but it wasn't really shifting very far. And so once I got a life coach, it changed everything, because like you said, one, you're not doing it alone, and you have someone they're completely cheering you on. They're for you. They've got your back, and they also having a coach that's personalized to you as well. I don't know how it was for your coaching, but having something that's personalized for your journey is so empowering. And it's so, like, if anyone out there is considering coaching, I really encourage you to get some coaching, get some support. It is really life-changing.
Completely. And so what that gave me then, because and I guess it's where I've been able to reflect in my business as well, we think it is other things. We think it's the things that are outside of ourselves. So we may think that it may be our business, or it may be, relationships, just kind of this a mismatch or stress, or just things not working out. We discover then that once we peel back the layers, everything changes, everything in our life changes. So it comes down to even like business, our personal relationships, the relationships with our children, the relationships with our friends, everything changes with that. That is if you get the right match for you. So if anyone is looking for a life coach, make sure that you have I would say an interview or kind of
Yeah.
just to see that you kind of resonate, because that is really important, that you
Yeah, I
do
would agree with that.
feel comfortable with that person that you're going to spend a lot of time with. But definitely you need to feel at ease with them.
All right. So I just wanted to ask you, what is your life like now that you've come through that journey, and you're now living your dynamic, fully alive, vibrant life? What does that look like for you now?
Oh, I need to take a breath here. So for me now, I don't think I ever thought that my life would be like this, because I was in a place where I thought my life was already perfect. But that was because I was numbing out on all the emotions that I was feeling. I learned to stick band-aids over all the conditions and programming that had been programmed into me. So now, I guess I really feel truly fulfilled. I feel at peace in myself. And what does that look like every day? That looks like every day I don't get stressed with the kids. I mean, they're like teenagers now. They're grown adults or growing adults. But I used to get so stressed out about what was going on. And I just ride the wave now. Life is it's just ease and flow. I love listening to my intuition, and really days just become flow. There are things that have to be done. So ultimately there is the, tasks that still have to be done. Of course, I still, shop and do the groceries and, cook food. But instead of feeling stressed out, numbed out by my life, I feel completely present. And there's a deeper sense of, when things going on, I feel present with my kids. When we have conversations, I feel like I'm fully present, and they feel fully heard, because that reflects back to me, because they actually want to hang out. They want to be with us, as opposed to before. It would be like there was this sort of, come on, you need to take we didn't have a dog then, but if it was that back then, it would have been like a more forced journey. You have to do this, you have to do that. Whereas now, it just happens. The energy change is really, really different, because ultimately it is a ripple effect. If you change there's a quote, if you change your energy, you change your life, or something like that. I can't remember the exact quote. And it is so true. So true. It is possible. And it is possible. If it's possible for me, then it is possible for you, for sure. You can find inner peace. I found it.
That's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I'm wanting to go into that even more myself, just hearing hearing you share about the flow that you're in and nothing being forced. That I think, that's how life, is meant to be. And that just sounds so beautiful. So like for women that are starting out on journey, or guys too, if you're watching as well, that are starting out on that journey, would you have any advice to help kind of give them some direction of where to start?
Reach out to someone who resonates with you. If you don't know where to start, then the answer isn't going to be in a book. It starts with your own awareness, first of all. It starts with your awareness of really wanting to change. And if you put that out there, like I did when I was in the wardrobe, a few weeks later, something cropped up on my Facebook feed that I took action. So one is this awareness, great. The second step is to realize and to acknowledge to yourself that you actually need help, because you desire this change. And this desire, when it comes from your heart space, the universe will answer you, I promise you. But then you need to take action. So when that Facebook ad crops up, or someone you're talking to mentions somebody, you need to decide that you have to take action. It won't just magically come to you in a magical wave of something. There is action to be taken. You have to be brave enough to take that step, to say yes to yourself and own that. And then everything starts to change from there.
Jo, you actually do transformational coaching as a service that you work with other people to help them on their journey. So if somebody's wanting to get coaching from you, how would they go about that? Do you have a website? Is there an email they can send you? What's the process for you?
So I'm on the socials, Facebook, Instagram. Find me on Instagram is probably the easiest, because then they can direct message me, and I'm in the stories section, so you can just find information there. My Instagram handle is joefisher.co. You can direct message me there. And I'm also on Facebook, and I do have a website as well, which I'm sure Robin will put in the comments section.
I will. I'll pop it up on the screen just below here, and I'll pop it in the description as well. So Jo, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a little bit of your story with us and a little bit of your journey. I think there'll be so many people that relate to going through that in their own life, and I really appreciate you sharing how you've come out the other side. It's really exciting to see people who've come out the other side and know that it is possible, that that you're not stuck. It is possible to have healing and to come out the other side and have an amazing, really good life. So thank you, Jo. Anyone who's interested in finding out a bit more, you can jump on my website at www.thevibrantexperience.com. I'm also on Facebook at The Vibrant Experience, and thank you for joining us today. Bye, everybody.